Through the laughter and the lessons, the bonds we hold, alumni shining bright under stars so blessed, with memories alive in the best of the West. Oh, the voices come together, a podcast so fine, telling tales of yesterday, crossing every line, with a jazzy kind of rhythm and a spark in their quest. It's the best in the West, we must confess. Late nights cramming or dreaming so tall, echoing footsteps down the old school hall. Friendships carved in stone stand the test of time, like the beat of a heart in sync and rhyme. Oh, the voices come together, a podcast so fine, telling tales of yesterday, crossing every line, with a jazzy kind of rhythm and a spark in their quest. It's the best in the West, we must confess. Time moves along, but the stories stay bright. Threads of laughter weave the day and night. Normandie's echoes beat strong in our chest. Forever we're tied to the best in the West. Oh, the voices come together, a podcast so fine, telling tales of yesterday, crossing every line, with a jazzy kind of rhythm and a spark in their quest. It's the best in the West, we must confess. We must confess. Normandie's echoes beat strong in our chest. Forever we're tied to the best in the West.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mr. Riley coming to you live from the West Coast, the best coast, the West Side. Happy Monday. Today is April 28th, I believe, 2025. And so wherever you are watching from, we appreciate you checking us out tonight. Well, we have another wonderful episode. I believe this is number 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our fourth installment of our Best in the West NCS podcast. And so we have a wonderful guest tonight, and he has, he's kind of transformed his area tonight just for us. I believe he's going to cook some food tonight, and I believe Darren just told me that we might be taking advantage of some chicken tonight. So hopefully that's true. We'll talk about it in a couple of minutes, but just welcome to the show. And why don't you go ahead and take some time to share the episode if you can on your social media platforms. We should be live on YouTube, and we should be live on Facebook as well. So hopefully, just give us, just check us out tonight. And if you can, go ahead and share this wonderful episode number 4 with Chef K.D. So I have a wonderful bio here that I have about our guest tonight. And let me just see if I can share with you a couple of things about our wonderful guest this evening. So it says, his bio says he was a kindergarten at NCS in 1983. He stayed at NCS until 5th grade. He was in Miss Jackson's class and had to move away due to family restructuring. Hopefully that was a good thing. We'll talk about that. His nickname is KD, Chef KD. His initials are for his name. And then also Fishbone. So we'll have to talk to him about that. He has a couple of businesses, and KD has a smoke shop. It's called KD Smoke Shop. He has a pop-up store in Leimert Park on Crenshaw Boulevard, and let me see. He has live cooking courses on property with hands-on help, great for couples, parties, and date night events. So, that's our guest tonight. So we're just going to go ahead and welcome Chef K.D. What's going on, Chef?
What's
How you feeling, my
happening?
man?
I'm doing good, man. It's Magnificent Mondays. Let's do it.
All right, man. It's good to see you on here. Thank you for joining us. I know we were running around doing some tech tests before the show. So just happy that we worked out, and I'm so happy that you're here. And man, I love your setup right now. It looks like you're about to get down and just
Just a
cook for
little
us
bit,
tonight.
man. Exactly. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Thank you for having me, showing and spreading my story out. I really appreciate that.
No, we're gonna have a good time tonight, man. Because I never had a guest on my show where they're gonna do something interactive, and then, like I said, Darren said that we might be able to, break bread with the food that you're cooking tonight. Now, is that true, or is that just a rumor?
That is true. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it wouldn't be really much cooking on the show if you guys didn't get to taste it and tell me, get some modest feedback.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna have to send him ahead like before we wrap up and be like, "Hey man, go secure the bag so that we can chow down. You ain't got to bring it back here, but we can figure out a meeting spot to kind of chow down and test out all the wonderful delicacies that you're gonna put down tonight." So let's go ahead and hop into
Absolutely.
it. Now, KD, Kirk is your first name.
Correct.
How did you get KD?
My initials, my full name is Kirk Domio. So just over the time, you meet a few friends and they don't want to call you Kirk or Kirk Domio. It's, hey, just shorten it up and call you KD. And
Absolutely.
so KD just kind of fell with me and followed me. And then as I got into cooking, Chef KD it was, and voila.
It was a natural response from your friends to be called Chef KD, right?
Right, right.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up? I know we have the bio says that you attended NCS as a kindergartner. So just kind of tell us, where you grew up and some of your favorite things about living in LA as a young man. And then I believe you said you moved away and then came back. So just kind of tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Kirk KD, Chef KD. I started NCS in the kindergarten, I want to say in 83. It was the school that was located literally like 2 blocks away from my home. So I literally was walking distance from the house. Uh, I loved the school because it was, it was right down the street from the house, easy access. And then it was like NCS is more of a close knit family, and I'll go more into that later of how I found out. At the time, I was just a kid in school and ready to have fun and do what normal 5 year olds want to do in kindergarten. My first teacher was Miss Middleton, which in kindergarten, her name, or I want to say kindergarten or first grade, her name changed to Miss Abdul Hamid. It's crazy how I remember all of these teachers' names so many years after but stuck with me. But yes, I born in LA. I pretty much been here, stayed in LA till fifth grade, and we actually moved up north just because of the way the demographics of LA, how they were not the safest places, and like I said, the area I was in wasn't the greatest, and I think my family wanted to give me expose me to a little bit more, a little bit different atmosphere. So far I did that. But like I said, in NCS, I went through first grade, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Uh, Through those grades, you meet your core friends that are in that class. You guys, go from class to class to class. So I didn't realize that that was a good core of friends until fast forward when I got back to LA. So again, like I said, I moved out of here when I was fifth grade, up into up north area. I spent most of my youth there, a little bit of my adult life. That's actually where I kind of got to inspired to be a cook. My dad was a cook and always cooked in front of me. So it was like, okay, that inspired me. I like to do this. So what do? I go to cooking school. I was able to go to the Art Institute, secure my degree in the culinary arts. But with that being said, I had grown to an adult by that time. So after I went to cooking school, I have a son, I have a house, I have financial responsibilities. And a lot of us know, or a lot of cooks know, once you go to chef school, when you go to chef school, you think when you come out, you're going to be a chef, you're going to be head chef, you're going to be Gordon Ramsay, you're going to be cussing and telling everybody, what to do. And that wasn't the case. You have to come out and you have to start from the bottom, no matter how good you were in school. And so financially, that didn't work out for me. So I kind of pushed cooking to the side. As we move fast forward, I moved back to LA, and that's when I linked up with Tiffany. Tiffany is the owner of Something Good to Eat, catering company that's Black owned. She's been in business for about 20 years. Once we got together, everything kind of aligned. She showed me what the ropes were. Like I said, I already enjoyed to cook. Now I'm cooking as a job. I'm getting what I need out of it. The cooking's getting what it needs out of me. It's getting exciting again. We're doing multiple events, and it just inspired me to indulge more into the cooking.
Man, sounds like you had a wonderful upbringing, and you come from different backgrounds. So you lived here up until you were fifth grade, moved up north, hung out, and then you eventually came back, and you followed. Not necessarily. Now, was your dad a cook by trade or profession, or that was just something that you saw that you wanted to pick up, and it was like, hey, Dad is putting out some nice stuff. Maybe I can kind of do it, but take it to another level. Was that something that you picked up from him, or just something that you wanted to do all on your own?
Nah, it's something I picked up from him. He used to, going to his house, he was like the type to where, like, as a kid, you're like, I want McDonald's, I want some fast food. He's like, oh, no, 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 you're not getting none of that. I'm gonna make food at home, and he would make stuff from scratch. Like because I would look in the refrigerator like, there's nothing here. What are we gonna make? And of course, as a cook, you know how to make something out of anything. And so he, I'll tell you a story, and this is kind of what made me think like, okay, he took a can of pink salmon and some cornbread and turned it into a masterpiece, like presentation, everything. And I thought, man, okay. And because I was young, that was something I figured like I can do this at my house. Like I can cook at home. I can put a pan on the stove and learn it. And so he's the true inspiration. I don't really say I had a passion to do it for work or anything. It was just something, what? I like to cook. Started when I was young. As time went by, I just got better at it. As you all know, cooking, I don't want to say is going to cooking school, you don't learn how to cook. You learn the basics of cooking. You don't learn how to cook until you cook. The more you cook, the more you learn how to cook. So as growing up, I learned a lot growing up cooking. So by the time I went to cooking school, a lot of the techniques, the things that they were showing us and teaching us, I already knew, but it was more of like learning the basics of cooking, how to fillet a fish, how to create a menu, just stuff like that. That really, you don't learn cooking, you learn that stuff is what I learned in school.
Yeah, I kind of remember the cans of salmon, and just some of the family, and I really didn't grow up liking salmon, and then much less canned salmon. But I guess seeing your dad, you're like, okay, maybe I can do this, and make it a little bit, what they say, more better. And so
Exactly.
that was super dope. Being able to take some cornbread and some canned salmon, right, and use that as an example, as a way to kind of launch your journey into being a cook and all that kind of good stuff. Now let's park. I want to park it for a hot second right here,
Sure.
and let's kind of go back and talk a little bit about some of your days at NCS. Now I know you mentioned some of your teachers. Who was one of your best friends that you hung out with at NCS?
Oh man, there's a bunch of them, but
Okay, go for it.
one of them that really stuck out. We hung out a lot. He came to my house. I went to his. Guy named Brian Newberg. Uh, we were, from kindergarten all the way to fifth grade. You know, again, like I said, close knit group of kids, and we used to hang out a lot. The one thing that I do remember about him was he was the cool kid that had every Nintendo game that you can think of.
Wow.
Like you go to his house and he had, I don't know if you guys remember, VHS used to have these little drawers, little cabinet drawers that you could put your VSS in, and it was 2 drawers per I guess you would say unit. He had 4 of these. All of them were filled with Nintendo games, and
Wow.
I used to be like, dude, you're the luckiest kid in the world. Like you have every Nintendo game there is. So that's what kind of drew me. Like, oh man, let's play games. And then also we used to go ride bikes. Like I said, that was just one of my good friends. But I mean, there's Stephanie Mickens, there's Harlem Laundry. There's Tony, her name's different now, but Tony. Like I said, it was Maisha Cannon. All of us were a close-knit group of friends. And like I said, I didn't realize that until years after. We had this bond in, you know, kindergarten through fifth grade. I went up north, but when I came back, it was like open arms with all these kids that I've been, you know, didn't know I had been friends with, but they were like still family from fifth grade. 20 years later, they're still like, hey, Kirk, we're still friends. Like, and I thought, man, this is awesome. So those are like some of the good friends and some of the positive memories from NCS.
Got you. Yeah. So for those of you who are tuning in, I was just told that Chef K.D. can't be heard, but the good thing about it, I am videotaping. So at the end of our podcast, I'll just have to repost it and not as a live. I'll have to take that live down and just repost the video that I have. So I'm sorry about that for those of you who are watching. But if you're watching, you probably can't hear me say this anyway, so it's all good. But we're still going to make it happen because everything that I'm looking at shows that we have good audio. And I know we made an adjustment with the headphones just prior to, but that shouldn't have affected what we're doing. But we're going to go ahead and do our thing. So yeah, friends are very, very important. You know, and especially having friends who have like a plethora of video games, because back then that's when video games were just taking off. So if you can go over to a friend's house and they got like 18 million, you know, video games for you to choose from, especially like for me, I was a kid who didn't have a lot of video games. I had a gaming console, but I might have had like maybe 3 or 4 games. And so you go to a friend's house, you're like, oh man, your eyes just kind of get bright and be like, oh man, we're gonna have a good time, dude. Yeah, you're all right. I like you. We can hang out, or you can go over there and hang out. What were some of your favorite things about attending in the NCS, other than it being close to your house? I think you said about 2 blocks away from your house.
Right. Excuse me. There was a few things. One of them was PE. I'm sorry, recess. Like, we look forward to recess. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but also like we had, you know, you have your groups of friends. We're gonna go play dodgeball, or you know, the groups are, oh, we're gonna go do this. We're gonna go do the backflips on the swings. I know some of the NCS fans know about that. Okay, we're gonna swing and do backflips off of them. Then also, it's just certain memories that stuck in my head. Our cafeteria at lunchtime, like it was just different. You know, we had a huge monitor with a TV in there. So during lunchtime, we were able to see educational programs. In fact, I didn't know what was going on at that time because I was so young, but we were in lunch when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up and we were watching live, and that stuck in my mind. But again, we don't know what's going on. We're just like, hey, we got hot lunch. We're eating our food. We're talking. We're having fun. And all of a sudden we see an explosion. We thought it was fireworks, but
Yeah.
but those are some of the good things. And then like the one thing as I learned now is the attention that the teachers gave us. Like they gave us very individual teaching and attention to us to help us learn.
Yeah, playing recess or, on the blacktop. We just called it the blacktop, the playground. I mean, we did everything, kickball, basketball. We even tried to play football with a tennis ball, at least when I was going there. That was a big thing because we couldn't play, but someone brought a tennis ball. I was like, okay, we're going to treat this like a football. And, still, running into the poles and getting scarred up, because of the hard blacktop and then going to the nurse. And so all of those were wonderful times that folks experienced, and not only you have shared that, but other folks, just talking to, not necessarily on this podcast, but just tons of friends that who went to NTS, especially the guys sharing some of those similar happenings, and I do remember 1986. I think I was in high school, and I was in the library when that happened. And it was
Hmm.
just like, whoa. It's like, okay, that is very tragic, just to see that happen. And for you being a lot younger, I'm sure that was, tragic for you guys to watch during lunchtime, right?
It
You
was
expect,
something different. We didn't
yeah,
we didn't we didn't know what was going on. We see a rocket go up, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, it's a light show now. It wasn't until I got home and my parents and grandparents started explaining to me what was going on, and
yeah,
that's when I understood the tragic situation of it. But yeah, the memories that memory like sticks. It will stick in my head forever.
absolutely. Now, high school, you went to high school up north?
Yes,
Okay. And then you
high
came
high
back.
school
Go ahead.
high school was an adventure because coming from LA and going to a small town up north, it was a complete culture change.
Yeah, what town?
But Madera,
Okay.
small town, probably maybe 15 minutes north of Fresno.
Okay.
But everybody knows everybody. Of course, because I'm the new kid on the block. When I first got there, not too many people knew of me or heard, knew of me. So it took me time. So by the time I got to high school, I was known. I had a blast, man. Like it. You got to understand, you know, growing up in a small town, there's a lot more freedoms you have than living in a big city. And again, in the big city of LA, when I did leave, it was the violence, the gangs, the killings was very, very real. So going to a town to where like I can stay out past the street lights coming on, and I don't have to stay on my street block. I can actually go to, almost on the other side of town. It was a whole different kind of experience, and a culture that I really, really embraced and loved.
Yeah, I can imagine living any place else in my high school or middle school as well, because LA would just it was a cool spot, and for me to pick up and leave, I'm sure it probably would have been overwhelming. And for you, I know it was overwhelming, but you made the adjustment and then decided to come on back, head on back down to LA, because you realize what you had down here, the connection with friends and family, and so that's a wonderful way, and kind of started you along your cooking journey. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Just how you got into the cooking. I know you mentioned earlier in your story about your dad, cooking, the salmon and the cornbread. Um, was it your lifelong journey, I guess, that something that you wanted to aspire to open your own restaurant, cooking for whoever? Is it something that you always saw yourself doing when you was a young boy?
No, like I said, it was more of just like a hobby. That's what it started out with, a hobby. I will say this, as I got older, it became, how can I say, one of my tools in my repertoire as far as chasing women. I knew, oh, okay, if I can cook, if I can, all these guys out here taking girls out, but if I say, hey, why don't you come over and let me cook for you? That was like something different that sparked the interest in a lot of women. So I was like, oh, I know how to cook. I can cook for women. They come over, they love my food. It's a win-win situation. So using that as my drive, that's how I got better at cooking. And then over time, it got to where like I'd host barbecues at my house, or I'd host dinner parties at my house, and people would come over and be like, "Kirk, your food is great. You're cooking like, man, this is really good." Now, as a cook, you want to believe everybody, but you kind of doubt yourself. You're like, "Oh, you guys are just saying that because you're my friends. You don't want to hurt my feelings." But if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's usually a duck. And so once I kept hearing that from multiple people, different genres of people, I started thinking, okay, well, I guess I can cook. I guess my food is good. And so that's when I said, you know what, maybe I should pursue this professionally and let me go to school and do the whole chef thing. And I did. Went to chef school, loved it, loved the experience. But like I said, I guess the reason why I loved it so much was because I was so knowledgeable about it. So like I said, in school, it was like a breeze. I knew all of this. I knew how to cook. I knew how to fry. I knew how to saute. I knew how to dice. I knew how to julienne. All this stuff just was new. It wasn't new to me. So it was almost like I'm dominating in my class because I know how to do all these things and nobody else like, oh, you've been cooking. So that kind of was pushed me in that direction. And I mean, over time, it's evolved me into what I am here today.
Yeah, you probably let's see what was the words I was trying to think of. Um, it came easy to you because you were already, immersed in wanting to be a chef. So,
Right.
it's a little bit different for folks who don't have those opportunities prior to, like applying for cooking school, right? Because you wanted to do that, you knew what it was going to take. And so you kind of mentally prepared, and not only mentally, but you physically, prepared. Okay, I need to learn how to cut this way or that way. So that way, when I get in cooking school, you'll be that much more advanced and ahead of the other students in the class. So, super dope to
Absolutely.
you because you've already had those experiences. Now, let me ask you, what would you say to anyone who is aspiring to be a chef? Now, I have a son, he loves to cook. I mean, he man, look, I mean, even his failures are like, I'm like, dude, can I just have the crumbs over there, right? I mean, but
Right,
no, I mean,
right.
he loves baking sweets. So he started out at 13 making cheesecakes, and I remember, one of the first times he put a cheesecake out for Christmas. It was cool. The presentation wasn't all that, but over
Right.
time, he's
Mhm.
gotten super, super. Man, he's awesome. I just love his cheesecakes, right? And other stuff that you talk about, salmon, his fish dishes, his poultry dishes. I mean, he can do it. And so I said all that to say, for those of who are watching, what would you say to someone who was aspiring to be a cook, and what are some initial steps that they need to do to enroll in cooking school and eventually open up their own business like yourself?
First of all, I would say make sure, or not want to say make sure, but when you're cooking, make sure it doesn't feel like work. Make sure you're enjoying it. You're loving to taste your food. You like to taste, and you enjoy it. This is like your kitchen is your area. When it doesn't feel like work, that's what kind of, makes it feel right. Also, like if you have the passion of exploring in different cuisines, versus Italian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Filipino, and you see the difference, like it's all the same ingredients. That's the crazy part. It's all the same ingredients, just that they're used different to give off certain different tastes and flavors. But I think this really is just more just loving what you do. Like some people look at peeling a potato and cutting a potato as work, versus a cook is going to look at it like, as you're peeling that potato, you're thinking, how many different ways can I make this potato? How many different ways can I cut this potato? How many different textures can I make this potato? And so once you have that joy and the vision of doing the simplest things, I think you're on a good path. Another thing too is when it comes to cooking, I will say this: this is a passion job. This is not something you say, you know what, I want to cook and I want to be a cook. I would say you really have to have a passion for this to be good at it. Because if you just, anybody can cook. And we all know we've been to somebody's house who cooked dinner and you were like, this is not it. This was not good. Yes, they can cook, but they can't cook good. So that's why I say, if you want to be successful in this type of business, you have to really be into food. You have to really be into flavors. You have to really be into seasonings. You have to be into garnishing and ingredients. But once you feel that, it's almost like school becomes easy. As far as entering a school, do your due diligence on your schools. There are multiple schools out there. So you have to find out as there's plenty of recruiters. Start asking the recruiters questions. How many of your graduates have became top chefs? How many of your graduates have became head chefs? What is your program? What are you guys teaching? And what steps? Because in cooking school there's certain different steps. Like I got introduced to baking first, and then by the end of the course, I was into filleting fish. Then I found out again, because I'm used to cooking, that baking is a whole nother art in itself. But again, it's just finding out really what you're dialed in, tuned in at, and then, like I said, making sure you do your due diligence on the schools. You're asking those questions. What is it? Again, how many head chefs? How many restaurant owners come out this school? You want to make sure you pick a good school because they're the ones who are going to take time with the students to make sure that you're successful in what you're doing. It's just like any other thing. You get assigned an assignment, you do your assignment, your teacher grades it, and that's your grade. There's a difference from your teachers grading your assignment saying, hey, next time, why don't you try this? Or did you execute this when you were trying to do this? So courses, your teachers are very key, but again, I think and honestly, it all boils down to your passion. You have to know that this is what you want to do because it's not easy. It's challenging. It's long hours, but the reward, and all cooks know this, okay? The best reward is when somebody tastes your food and you see their reaction or they tell you it's good. That is the creme of the creme. Besides the money, that is what you look for somebody to taste your food and say, oh my God, this is amazing. And that gives you the heebie-jeebies. That means like in your mind, you're high-fiving yourself. You're like, I did it. And then on top of that, you're like, how can I make it better? What can I do to take it to the next level?
Man, those are some awesome tips. And, maybe I can use a small part of those suggestions and, make some smaller bits of content. But no, those are super, super dope. So let's kind of move on a little bit because I know that you're in your cooking studio, and then in your bio, it said that you do some live cooking courses. So kind of walk us through what you have set up for us tonight because I do want to be able to taste a little something. So go ahead, Chef, show us what you got in front of you, and, we'll just take it from there.
Absolutely. So usually I'm known for my barbecue. I smoke all my meats, which I've gotten good at. I've learned that barbecue is my thing. I mean, I can cook
Absolutely.
anything, but barbecuing is my thing.
Here, matter of fact, hold on, Chef. Matter of fact, I got a couple of pictures. I got that chicken. Looks like a little chicken that you kind of barbecued or smoked.
Oh, yes. We smoked the chicken.
I got that one.
That sat in the brine for 48 hours, then went on the smoker.
We got some folks patronizing your pop-up right there.
That was a pop-up, very successful. Again, that was my first pop-up. I didn't know what to expect. Everybody showed up and showed out, so it was very successful. I'm really proud of myself on that one.
And it looks like these are some smoked ribs right here. They look really juicy and
yes.
Yeah,
the ribs again, they sit in the brine for 24 hours and then go in the smoker.
See, I'll be shortchanging myself. I'll be like, all right, let me just let you sit on in the marinade for like a couple of hours and then throw them. But the real thing is to let them do their thing for 24 hours, huh?
Yeah. The real thing is making a brine. I know we all have our marinades.
Yeah.
Is one thing, but brine is what happens is the salt breaks down the membrane in the meat, and the flavors in that brine get into the meat. So it's a huge difference from just using a marinade, throwing it in the refrigerator for a couple hours versus putting in the brine, letting the salt break down the membranes, and letting the flavors of all the brine. And I use Bailey's, peppercorn, salt, garlic powder. There's a number of things. I can't let you all know all my secrets, but there's a number of things that I'll put in my brine. And like I said, over the time, that flavor just builds in there. So by the time when it comes out to the smoker, you're just putting flavor on top of flavor on top of flavor.
Gotcha.
A lot of times I will serve my barbecue with no barbecue sauce. And most pitmasters know, all pitmasters know, your barbecue should be tasted with no barbecue sauce first. The barbecue sauce should just be like a cherry on top. You should be able to eat that meat just seasoned right and smoked right, and it come out tremendously flavored.
Well, I was going to ask you to share your brining recipe, but
I
since you
just gave
can't
you a
tell
couple of
us,
I
man,
just
but
gave you a
listen,
couple of ingredients.
Chef KD, I need to know how much peppercorn, how much cumin, how much red pepper. I need to know a little something. So maybe you can tell me off air. You can tell me off air. How about
I
that?
can do that if you keep it to yourself and just make it at home. I might can work that out with you.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and kind of walk us through what you got in front of you because we want to see what you're working with, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, like I said, my specialty is barbecue, but I can cook anything. So to keep it simple, and because usually I'm smoking, it's outside and we're inside. I'm just going to do something simple. So we're just going to do basically a rice, sauteed vegetables with an orange chicken. Keeping it real simple. Okay. My whole setup is here. Over here, I have my rice. It's already cooked because I didn't know how long we're going to be. So I'm like, let me have my rice ready. But
Yeah.
everything else you're going to see me do from scratch. So what I can do is go ahead and get started and kind of tell everybody what's going on as I go. So now is what I'm doing is just getting my pans hot, and I have a pan for my vegetables and I have a pan for my chicken. So first thing we're going to do is, this is just me, but of course everybody has to each his own. Different cooking oils use different temperatures. This here is just some regular virgin olive oil. I will add a little bit of butter in my olive oil just to give it a little bit of a different texture. But also, is what happens is my butter now will not, if you overcook butter, most of you know it will start to turn brown. But if
Mm-hmm.
you add a little bit of olive oil into that butter, it will never turn brown. So you'll never
Mm,
burn your butter. So now just
okay.
let the pan heat up. A little olive oil, a little butter. I'll let that heat up. My pan over here is heating up for my vegetables. I'll use another little bit of olive oil over here. Because these are vegetables, I don't need that much. So I'll just get a little bit of butter over here. Same thing, one butter. I always use a butter and olive oil mix, unless I'm using a different type of cooking oil. Uh, there's all types of oils. It depends on just how healthy you want to be. There's ghee. There is coconut oil. There are multiple oils that you can cook with. I just, like I said, majority of times I'm just going to use some regular old olive oil and butter.
Okay, so I have a question. Canola
Yes.
oil, is that a good oil? So top three oils that someone could use as they're cooking. I know you mentioned olive oil. So what are kind of like the hierarchy of oils that someone can use as they're cooking in their own kitchen?
So if you're, again, it's going to depend on what you're cooking. If you're cooking something that requires high temperature, I would recommend a canola oil. But now if you're on the health con, you're going to use either ghee, coconut oil, or extra virgin olive oil. If you're looking on a real healthy version, you would only use ghee and coconut oil. But like I said, everybody's different. Not a lot of people are familiar with those different types of oils. So just keeping it simple: canola oil, olive oil are the best ones. Canola oil and like vegetable oil, they can hold a higher temperature. So if you're looking at frying something or cooking something at a high temperature, those oils will hold a higher temperature. Olive oil is more like a low temperature saute, or use it for your salads or vegetables or something like that. But really, really not a high heat. I'm going to go ahead and get my vegetables in here. Hopefully I answered your question on that. So right now I'm chopping up some broccoli. And that's again going to go in my pan here with I have some butter, a little butter, a little olive oil.
Now with the broccoli, are you using the entire stalk or just the floret, the top half of the broccoli?
Just the florets, just the top half. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but just the top half. That's it. You can use the stalk if you want to. It's just it's not as pretty. So it all depends on you. I will add a few onions in here. And this is just a saute down. And what that does, it gives the broccoli a little bit of a hint of an onion inside of it. Like I said, the vegetables don't take long. They're going to sit here and saute for just a couple minutes. So they're done. Then over here, like I said, this pan is nice and hot. Again, I can't share my secrets, but we have our special seasonings.
Man.
Hey man, I gotta keep my secrets, man. I gotta keep my
No,
sauce.
I get it. I get it. I mean, because we still don't know what's in Colonel Sanders' 11 herbs and spices, so it's all good, man.
Okay, exactly. Colonel Sanders, at least he has security around here. I haven't had security around mine yet. But also, is I can't have people taking my spices and saying, yeah, this is I came up with this. This is my stuff. But again, you want to make sure you season both sides of your meat. Hopefully, everybody knows that you want to season both sides. Nobody likes one side seasoned meat. But again, guys, this is something real simple. You have some chicken thighs, you have some broccoli and some rice. Real simple.
Okay, I'm gonna tell Darren. I'm gonna tell Darren to be on his way. Be like, look, bro, go pick up the go secure the bag real quick.
Well, now, in all fairness, Darren has had my cooking before.
Oh, he has.
He has. He has experience on the barbecue, so he knows. He has
Yeah.
a good idea.
See, Darren doesn't
Right now,
share. He doesn't share all that. He's like, oh man, we got to get KD on the show. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to talk to him off air once we're done. I have a couple of choice words, sir. I have some choice words for you, so just know you're gonna get an earful when this podcast is done. All right, go ahead.
so I just added a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onions to the chicken. Again, these are chicken thighs. They're not going to take that long to cook. Uh, my broccoli here is almost done. Rice almost done. Again, the reason I chose this was to make it simple and keep it real easy and fast. And oh
Now, I normally steam my broccoli. Which one would you say it's easier to prepare? The broccoli, like you're doing the stir fry, or with some water and kind of steaming it on the stove.
it depends on how you want. Again, it's all personal preference. Because this is more of a, I guess you would say, Asian themed dish with the orange chicken. That's why I went with sauteed vegetables, because usually that's what they do. They saute their vegetables. Now, depending on it's all depending on how you want your food. If you want steamed vegetables, steam your vegetables. Some people like them boiled. I will tell you this, with broccoli at least, but a lot of your green vegetables, if you are going to boil it or if you're going to steam it, leave the lid off when you're steaming. It keeps the color, the green color of your vegetable. Now, if you cover it, that's when it turns into a darker color. But a lot of times if I'm going to steam or boil broccoli, I always leave it uncovered because it keeps that bright green color to it. Okay? As soon as you cover it up, it's going to take it and make it to like a brownish color. And almost like, I don't want to say something nasty, but it doesn't have that pop that you're looking for, that green, that you're looking for when it comes to plating the middle. Because a lot of times when people, again, I'm a chef, so when I'm cooking, I'm looking at, okay, when I plate this, I want it to look good. Most people, when you're cooking at home, you don't care what it looks like. You just want it on my plate and it tastes good. But I look at it, like I said, when I'm doing my broccoli, hey, I gotta have color. I need some color, some vibrant color when I put it on when I'm plating. So that's why I choose to saute it. Like I said, when I do steam it, I don't put a top on it.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I don't know why. I think because it's easier for us to steam, but I like the suggestion to keep the top off because normally if I'm preparing broccoli, I'll put it on a little bit, especially in the beginning to kind of warm up the water. But I like the idea, and I'm gonna have to try that next time when I'm in the kitchen to just cook it with the top off instead of leaving it on.
I will always, like I said, go with on the broccoli. Now, on the chicken, that's again your preference. So like, I don't have a top with me right now, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But if I was to cover this, is what will happen is I start cooking the chicken from the top and the bottom. Because right now it's just cooking from the bottom. The heat's coming from the pot, it's cooking from the bottom. At the top, the chicken's not getting cooked. Well, because I turned it is, but I mean normally at the top, the chicken's not being cooked. But as soon as you cover it, now all this internal heat inside that pan is now cooking the chicken everywhere. So now it's not like you left the top off that egg, it will cook the bottom. But if you add a little bit of water and then you close that pan, the steam that will build up in that pan will start to cook the top of the egg. Same concept when it comes to chicken. So again, it's up to you how you preference. Again, guys, I'll say this. Cooking is a reflection of you and how you like your food. It's not to once you get more veg, you're like, oh, I want to cook it like this, or I want to try cooking it like this, and get this texture. Some people like their chicken super, it has to be, crunchy almost. Some people just want it to be nice, moist, juicy, and done. So again, it's just preference. But for me, I'm just going to keep it simple. Uncover my vegetables, the chicken's uncovered. We're going to go ahead and go over here with another turn. I don't know if you guys can see the nice little crust I got on there.
Man, I should have sent over another camera so we could do a top down to see what those what's in those pans, see what you're working with, man. Now I think your iPod or your hearing device, I think it might have lost power, so you might be hearing me through your speaker. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I've got cooking going
Yeah, I
on.
know.
So got you.
I got you.
But I can hear you.
Okay,
You got to pay attention.
that's a good thing. I'll try to speak up a little bit louder. How's that?
There you go.
Now, what is your favorite dish for you to prepare for your family, or if you're doing a big party? What is your favorite dish to prepare for a group of people?
Say it one more time. I couldn't hear you.
Your favorite dish to prepare for yourself, and your favorite dish to prepare for a large amount of people.
My favorite thing is Italian food. I'll tell you guys why. Italian, to me, is the only cuisine that usually requires fresh ingredients. If you go, you can go to any Italian restaurant, they're going to pop open a can of tomato sauce and, bottle this and bottle that. But a true Italian dish is cooked with all fresh ingredients. So if you're going to make a sauce, you start with tomatoes. And then it just depends on what type of tomatoes you want to use. When you want to make a pasta, it starts off with your dough and the water, the quality of water that you use for that dough. All your ingredients are usually, oregano, parsley. They're fresh ingredients that you literally can go to the garden, pick from the garden, and come and make. That to me is why I like Italian. Italian is like, I know everybody, Italian's full of carbs, but if you do it right, the carbs aren't bad. We just eat a lot of processed pasta, which means bad carbs. But you just have to take the time to go do your due diligence and find the quality dough, the quality flour to make the proper pasta, which isn't that bad for you. But hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, I'm a big Italian fan.
Okay, so your favorite pasta to cook then? Favorite pasta?
Pasta's one, but it's like the sauces, man. Like, you can't, when you're cooking, the difference in tomatoes that you use changes the flavor in your sauce. If you use a chicken broth or a beef broth or a beef tallow, all of these things just change the flavor so much. So to answer your question, it can be a pasta dish, it can be a vegetable dish. It's all about the sauce. The sauce is what makes everything, whether it be a red sauce, white sauce, or a marinara sauce, Alfredo, or a green sauce. It's really, it's all about the ingredients.
Got you. Yeah, I have my son. He'll make this Cajun chicken pasta. It's super moist, super delicious. And then my other son, my youngest son, I have three sons and a daughter. My son number 3, he loves Alfredo. So if we go to a restaurant, his go-to is chicken Alfredo, with the sauce. So I get it. The sauce is everything. And I'm still trying to figure out my favorite. sauce for pasta. Anything with some protein, I'll pretty much eat.
All right, real quickly, I'm gonna give you guys an update. It looks like everything's almost done. The last thing I'm gonna do here is add a little bit of orange sauce to this chicken. Now you guys will say, well, what's in your orange sauce? What's in that? I can't tell you.
It's
I
okay.
will
I
say,
wasn't even going to
I
ask
will
you.
say that
I wasn't going to ask you.
there's orange
So
juice in the orange sauce.
okay. So I'm gonna pull up a recipe online, and I'm just gonna add a couple of extra, a little extra love in it so that it can be mine. So it's all good. I'll figure it out.
Uh, I'll give you the basis for the orange sauce. You're going to use ginger, garlic, salt, pepper, orange juice, and a little bit of sugar.